Good morning. Good morning. And welcome to our Wednesday morning class coming to you from HeartLight Spiritual Center here in Charlotte. We want to welcome all of you. This is week 5, which is healing from the heart. Also, we are under the subject of living from the intelligence of your heart, but week 5 is the healing from the heart. Our quote today to start the class is found in the book of Job 38 and 36. Job 38 and 36. Who has put wisdom in the inward parts? It's a question. Or who hath given understanding to the heart? It's a question. Who puts wisdom in the inward parts of the heart? And who gives understanding to the heart? Last week, we dealt with the intelligence of the heart, and the review is creating cellular memories by such things as moments in which we're taking a walk with our lover, the power of shaking hands, which is something we haven't done for a long time, and I think we have a disconnect because of it. I think it's very powerful, the shaking of hands, because you are connecting 2 very powerful chakras in the palm of each hand. This is why laying on hands and that type of healing has been very powerful and successful for a very long time. And I'm looking forward to getting there again with you. I did a little bit Sunday to some of you, but I am ready that we have a little bit more contact in that way. The fact of just joining our hands in prayer, this is kind of the prayer, even in yoga, this is a prayer pose. And people in most religious ceremony will often do that, or you'll see statues with that, praying hands, it's called, it's very famous. And that is connecting those 2 chakras together in the hands. It's very important. We are waves of energy infinitely linked together. And of course, this is the real basis and the fundamental principles of any of the teachings that are coming forth from here at HeartLight. And that is that we are moving toward a new normal, a new fundamental idea of more of the quantum model than what we call the Newtonian model. And I hope that you get familiar with that language, because it is the shift of language that we're going through right now. If you remember all of the weeks, actually months, that we went through the body, mind, spirit shift to everything is energy, and kind of getting ready with looking at energy in 3 different forms, but looking at energy and content. Does that make sense to you? In other words, if we see, God, do I dare mention it? Steam, water, and ice as 3 different forms, and see them as forms, we see them as 3 different things in form. But if we realize the content is the same thing, and that is water molecules, then they all become the same thing. So this is what is happening as we are really moving into a different dimension in what we call new thought and metaphysics, actually. And I want to make sure that you understand, in my perspective, that attaining to metaphysical principles and new thought principles, as important as it is not the goal. It is the means to reach the state of pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. And you don't get to pure consciousness until you run out of things. You have to be able to go into the place of no thing, where everything exists as a possibility or a potential. In the East, that is called the great spiritual void. Doesn't mean it's void of all things. It means it's void of all things that have not yet been made anything. That makes sense to you. And we really could call that God, I suppose. God is a field of all possibility. And then what the scripture says, to them that believe and have faith, all things are possible to them that believe. So as we truly enter this wonderful state, we're totally in a new model, a new norm that is different from the old model of the closing of the old Newtonian. And when I say Newtonian, I don't mean like it's no good anymore. We're adding to, we're not subtracting things that have been very important along our path, because those still remain in the present experience. So we still need Newtonian science. That's how a plane finds its, what time it leaves and what time it's going to get there, that's all Newtonian. Or a rocket that can shoot up there, that's Newtonian. So it always has its place, but we can't get stuck in one level. We have to continue until we run out of things and we're just in the field of pure consciousness. Pure consciousness. So all of this teaching on the heart and heart math and the other things that we're saying about the heart is all to help us to get to that place. The heart is what's going to get you there, not the brain. Again, I want to say now the brain doesn't become the new enemy and the heart's the good one. As long as they are coherent with each other is the answer. But you can't have the dominant of one over the other. Not even the heart over the brain. The heart should be working with the brain as the brain is working with the heart. It's about being joint heirs. It says we are joint heirs with Christ. All right? So energized by subtle life energy when we are at least aware of our true authentic self. Our true authentic self. In week 4, our focus, our attention was in the area first of the heart, which is actually where we begin with the heart-focused breathing, which we did earlier over there, but we do here in the services also. And I do the teaching of the heart breathing to breathe in to the count of 4. Hold 4 and exhale 6. So would you like to do that with me about 3 times? I want to get in our seats, be comfortable. It's best if you can comfortably keep your spine as erect as you can, because that's where the energy flows throughout the body. We're going to breathe in 4, we're going to hold it, and exhale 6. And we're going to do that 3 times for heart-focused breathing. Together in, hold, exhale, 6. In 4, hold 4, exhale 6. Inhale, hold, exhale. And now we're going to do this one more time, but we're going to activate and sustain a feeling such as appreciation, care, love, or compassion. So if you have a person in your life that you feel a lot of love and appreciation for, you can use them. And I suggest you can also use your pet. I know how much you love your pets. Whatever that you choose to think upon that gives you a feeling of appreciation while we do the focused breathing will bring in the next thing that we learned, that is coherence. and also helps us enter the place that we're trying to get to in the sense of, I don't want to say the resilience. And resilience, remember what resilient means? It means we don't stay somewhere very long. If we're in anger, fear, or whatever, we may feel it, but not as long. We're more resilient to get back to our true, higher attributes or nature, which is always love and peace and so on and so forth. Okay, we're going to do it again. The 4-4-6, and this time we're going to think of someone or something that gives us a sense of love and gratitude, and bring it into the chest area. Together. Hold. Exhale. Let's do it one more time. Breathe in. And hold that feeling of love and appreciation that you're feeling. And exhale it out into the collective. So we're going to do it again, and this time we're going to be aware that as we exhale that appreciation and the feeling, that we're going to share it with the collective consciousness of our planet. 4. Hold. Exhale. And now take your arms and your hands, and just like you're opening your heart chakra, exhale and breathe it out. For as I've received, so I give. Breathe in, and from the heart, exhale and let it go. And so it is. So we focus our attention on the heart, we activate and sustain the feeling of appreciation and radiate that renewing feeling out to ourselves. Did you include yourself? Good. That's okay to do that. I know a lot of religious teaching has kind of left us outside the circle, and we think that we're here for everybody else. There's need. And oftentimes we get left behind because they teach us that that's kind of ego, and we should not do this for ourselves, but we're here to serve everyone. But we are part of everyone, right? We are not separate from everyone. Heart medicine recognizes the body as its own natural wisdom. Let's talk about the body just a moment. There are 3 terms that are translated our spirit, our soul, and our body. So I'm going to use this to talk the language of third dimension to you. But you know everything is energy. But so we can understand. The translations of these words mostly come from Greek, the school of Greek thought. What's called your spirit self, that elevated you that's almost into the ethereal, mystical aspect of self, like steam would be, is from the word pneuma. Pneuma. I know it starts with a P. It's P-E-N-U-M-A, I believe. Pneuma, which is translated spirit or life force. Chinese call it qi, Japanese call it ki, and it's the life force, okay? The soul comes from, and by the way, the ending of the words in Greek have a feminine, neutral, or masculine word ending. We don't do that in English, but if you learn Spanish or you use the more romantic languages, you'll realize that they have these 3 different endings. Either they're masculine, feminine, or neutral. So in the Greek, pneuma is masculine. The word for soul that I've picked out, and there's others, but the most one that used in the New Testament is from the word suke. Suke. I can't tell you exactly how to spell it, but it's going to look like words like psychology and psychic. It's the mind stuff that we have, phonics and all that kind of thing. That ends in a feminine. So you got the masculine in the spirit, you got the feminine in the soul. But when it comes to the body, which is soma, it's neutral. It's neutral. That means either what we call the frequency of spirit is either using the body to project its information, or the soul is using the body. So the body becomes what we call the map. In Soma energetics, we call it mapping. And that is the ability for the body to tell us exactly what's going on in the soul area, which is the emotions, the feelings, where we deposit our karmic imprints and stories is all in the soul. The soul carries that. The soul is kind of the part of us where we file our story. That's where we put it. And the things that we put in that are not just the things that just kind of cross our mind and they're gone, but they're the things that find a pattern. In other words, when it comes to that subject, this is the way I think about it. And every time that subject comes up, that's always the way I think about it. And you keep doing that until you create an energetic imprint, right? And of course, then from there, guess what happens? You even give it more power by believing it. When you take it on as belief and reality, whether it is or not, then it becomes that. Because you're so powerful, you can make things become real, even if they're not real, because you're the center of your power. So this is kind of a wonderful way, a drama to understand how all of this is working. And of course, I've tried to break this down to the most density of religious dogma and doctrine, which has been projected to use the body for its agenda of separation, which is the man over the woman. The woman be silent, go ask your man. That's the teachings. That's the doctrine of Christianity. If you're a literalist Bible person, women are submissive to the husband, to the man. The man is the head, but Christ is the head of the man, but the man is the head of the woman. That's really the teaching of millions and millions of fundamentalist, literalist, biblical people out there. And they don't understand that that's a projection. It had nothing to do with the body. It has to do with the soul, how it's working, and how it's projecting on the body to prove itself. Why? So here's what we do. We start putting women under subjection. We don't let women minister. We don't let women teach in the church. Everything's a man, blah, 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 and all that goes on. And while we're doing that, we're neglecting where the healing really needs to be, which is in the soul. The pseudo-spiritual part of ourself. And finally, a lot of you, I assume, somehow came to the place like, I don't believe that anymore. I don't believe women, that I should be subjected to a man all the time. And you found your way. And the space that you found it in that we give honor to is New Thought. Thank God that you found unity or science of mind or some metaphysical or universalist teachings or something like that, because that was the space in which you could heal the soul from that. And as the soul healed from that, so did your position in the human drama change. And if you realize it, and I know a lot of you do, that there is so much in New Thought where the ministry is women and gay people who have their yin and yang together. And there's also men. But it's all there. I'm saying the body, the symbolism of the body, mind, and spirit has all found its way to come together in some kind of a philosophy or a teaching. Okay? I hope that makes some sense to you, but I want you to understand that. The heart medicine recognizes that the body has its own natural wisdom. So either it is showing you the wisdom of the heart or it's showing you the knowledge of the head. But in coherence of the two coming together, you're going to get a different story that's going to end up at the cellular level in your body. It acknowledges the subtle info-energetic intelligence. I like that. Info-energetic intelligence. Good term. Field that is our body and natural ebb and flow between health and sickness as essential parts of life. Brain medicine does things to try to fix us. Heart medicine helps healing happen within us by allowing the natural life energy from our heart to flow freely. Again, brain medicine sees us as broken. What it does not see, it doesn't believe exists. So all your aspirations, so-called dreams, goals that you cannot perceive through the five senses, that the brain says, if you can't see it, it does not exist. Gives you and leaves you into a belief of lack. The heart helps healing to happen by allowing. I like this word, allowing. You know, I do this scripture a lot. Let the same mind be in you. That word let there is allow. Doesn't mean you don't have it, you got to go get it. It means you got it and you got to allow it to show up. How much is in us that's ready to show up on the stage of life that we don't allow it to because we believe we don't have it and we're coming from a belief of some kind of lack. Heart and brain medicine focus on healing differently. What is healing? Again, brain fix, correct, restore a mechanical system. Very Newtonian in it. Heart reminds us we are whole, reconnecting and recovering molecular memories that promote healing. So okay, why heal or not? Brain, to keep going, do more, have more, live longer, get the most out of life. Heart, be whole with the systems around us, to be able to care for, heal, and protect those systems, people, plants, animals, and places. What that is saying, again, is the brain wants to, I guess a symbol would be like the carrot before the horse. And the horse can't get to the carrot. So think of how many people can live a lifetime or more, but a lifetime with great aspirations, spiritual goals, and dreams and desires that never get there before death finds you. What would happen if you got it before death? I don't know how many times I've heard or read people saying they didn't get it until they were going through the tunnel. I used to do this. I could have had a V8. Right. Because it's set up that way. The world system, whoever you believe, is kind of controlling a system called the world. Don't confuse the world with the earth. The earth is not the world. The world is the world systems. Mm-hmm. And that's why people confuse the end of the world is going to be the end of the planet. Two different things. Let there be the end of the world, because I'd like to see these systems of the world, of third dimension, let them come to an end, and let new systems begin to start showing up. Make sense? What was I saying before I said that? Okay. You have to keep me on
The carrot.
the carrot.
So,
Never getting there.
right.
So I stand on a promise. It's out of Psalm 78. But I just felt this. I feel a lot of things when it comes to David in the Bible, because I believe in some way I'm a part of the incarnation of David of the Bible. I don't say that often, but I had an experience in the late 80s, and I was preaching that Sunday morning on a scripture. It says, I was glad when they said unto me, let us go to the house of the Lord. And of course, we always did that, meaning the church.
Yeah.
You know, Sunday morning we went to the church and we'd say, I'm so glad that I came to the house of the Lord this morning. And then I read in Hebrews, but ye are the house. That's what it says. Ye are the house, your body. Remember this morning we talked about the tabernacle? The body, okay? So the body, okay, is the temporal place. I'm ahead of myself because I'm getting things as I'm saying them. So those that absolutely have created, I guess, for a better word, or miscreated, however you want to see it, this whole system of a lifetime has set it in a way that you do not get the enlightenment experience until death. Now those, and there are those who accomplished it in and while in the body. Buddha, Jesus, etc., etc. The ones we call the enlightened ones, the teachers, the world teachers. These are those that show us what we could attain, but instead of letting them show us what we could attain, we worshiped them. We made them icons and we made religions around them. And we put our whole power through worship to them because they did it. We didn't need to do it. And they would just give us grace and save us for being so human that later we get a reward in heaven. When what they were trying to tell us is what I've attained, you too can attain before death. The last enemy to be put under your foot is death. And that's what it means. It doesn't mean you're not going to maybe die. Most likely we are, but we don't have to. I keep it open all the time. But doesn't mean that we have to die and we have to go there to get it. We've already got it. We just have to learn how to allow it. And this is why heart living from the focus of the heart will help us to open that portal and that door to receive what is already our inheritance and our birthright as divine, individualized of the one made manifest in the human story. Yeah. So all of this that we're learning is to help us more and more to get in touch with that part and to create this wonderful heart portal that's going to give us a different blueprint for life than the brain has given us. The brain is always about birth and death. It's always about destruction and recreating. It's a cycle. As long as it keeps us going in that way, then we just keep repeating the same thing over and over and never attain the state of what we call enlightenment. Okay. Brain, to keep going, do more, live longer. So the brain, the closest the brain can get to eternal life is longevity. Not bad, I'll take that. I'm working on that. I don't know about you, but I'm working on longevity. I'm trying to live long enough so life can come before death. That makes sense to you? And that's why I try to do things like take supplements and go to alternative people and do the things that people think I'm crazy to go do, but I'm trying to sustain myself to live long enough for enough people to be raised in consciousness collectively to be able to open a portal in which life after death can reach us in the present. And that's what the teacher said to those who were just living souls. I come to bring you life and more abundantly. He was talking to the living. So let us come forth and manifest God, which is life. God is life. Who needs healing? Most everybody. People say, well, I don't have anything wrong with me. I'm healthy. I don't have any physical issues. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the healing of the mind. The healing of the mind and its story that it believes of itself of being not eternal but temporal. Who needs healing? Brain. It says Brian here. There was a typing error there. Brian. Brain. Sick or broken needs mending because they have fallen into a state of despair. Do you realize that humans are the only creation or formation, animal, that immediately begins to predict its own death? Trust me, your cat, your dog, the squirrels at your backyard, the pests, I've not even thought about it. They have no life insurance. They've not planned their funerals. They're not looking for old age and what to do. If you think about all of that, and I'm not saying, I'm not saying we shouldn't or should, but man, do we set up ourselves for the death process. Now, I've been careful with that because I'm not saying go out here and cancel all your stuff like that. If you're not at that state of enlightened consciousness yet, I would do what you got to do as a more third dimension. So I'm not telling you that. But I'm just showing you how that human beings who have stepped out of just the mammalian level and created that frontal cortex and has that advantage of imagination and controlled thought has really set up their own death. In the Bible, it's called a covenant with death. And it says that we can disannul the covenant with death. Wow. The heart says many times, don't do anything, just sit there. Here's how we'd say it: be still. Sometimes you just need to be still and know that the I am present you are is God in the flesh. But you got to take it a step there. It's not about knowing what's in the flesh. You got to know what's able in the flesh to become the flesh. When you stop seeing and perceiving the body as more than a container for the presence. And this is where I say New Thought comes a little short, because there's still a lot of teaching of within. Let's go within, let's go within. And we use it here. It's language. Third dimension language is just language. But that doesn't mean we can't have a higher understanding of the language. The only reason we want to go within is to feed what is within, so it grows and matures until it becomes what it is, all the way to the mental, emotional, and cellular level. It can become the new generation of cells. And what I was saying about David, I never got to, is in Psalm 78. Remember, David was not, he was one of the kings in the Yahweh regime, but he wasn't of Yahweh. He was of the Most High, El Elyon. Do you understand that? It's important you understand. David was a plant by Most High in Yahweh's court. And he said that. He said, I give honor to Yahweh, but I sing praises to the Most High. And of all the great kings of Israel, he's the only one that danced and sang. He danced so much, what? He danced his clothes off one time. His wife got so mad at him. But what a metaphysical message there. He danced off his outer persona. The thing that covered him, he hid in, was danced off him. Till nakedness means authenticness. To be naked is to be authentic and not clothed with your personas and your masks and your labels and all those kind of things. Dance them off. That's why I'm trying to get you all to dance here a little bit. I don't think Bonnie has much left. And I have to say that about Bonnie. She's very authentic. She says what she means when she says it, and maybe it's because she's danced it off and doesn't hold it in. So there is a reason for the dance and how David danced. But here's what it said in Psalm 78, and I love this. Here he is rising up out of the day that he lived into a vision. He was a visionary. He saw an age that had not yet come but was there. He saw beyond the 613 ordinances of the law. He saw a time in which we would move into the grace and mercy and love of God being manifested. And he said, I see, and here's what he said, I see a generation to come that will not walk as their forefathers. That's so good. I read that years ago and it just blew me away. I said, are we the generation where the buck stops here? Are we the generation that will not carry the imperfection of our ancestry DNA to our children and their children and to your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren? Can it stop with you? Are you the generation?
Yes.
And the new gene is God DNA. God's DNA becomes so powerful over your ancestral DNA until your cells look into a new blueprint. And you start having God cells. Wow. You say, what does that have to do with the heart? Everything. Because this is all written in your heart. You know what it says about the heart? It says, what's in the brain was written by man and by the pen and ink of man. But what's written in your heart is written by the finger of the Spirit. The heart has a different story than the story you've believed in your head. So it's important that we go and awaken that new story. Yeah. A cold can be the body's expression of the Spirit's cry to go home. Healing is enhanced when we remember that the internal drive toward health and most problems correct themselves. Cut your finger, keep it clean, it heals. 3-day measles. This is so crazy. I remember somebody having the 3-day measles. You remember 3-day measles? There was a 3-day measles around years ago when I was a kid. And the church prayed for 3 days. And the measles went away. I said, but they were 3-day measles. And I just saw things like that. I was a strange kid, but I thought, okay, sure it went away. It was 3 days. And I think there is a certain timing and cycle and season of things. So, I heard that even this COVID thing, when I was listening to, at that time I was very impressed with, some of you know I mentioned, help me out, Michael. The guy y'all really like a lot. Yeah. He said that this would probably be around a 2-year cycle. His study of these pandemics would mostly land around 2 years, and then it kind of just starts fading away. And it kind of looks like we're heading more toward a 2-year point at this rate. That's going to take care of it. So I'm saying there's a season for everything, and there's a cycle for everything. And sometimes we just have to learn to ride the cycle, but do it the best way we can. And that's what we're doing. The masks, vaccines, whatever else we're all personally doing, working out our own salvation, is all doing that into a way to sustain ourselves until the cycle breaks itself. In other words, it literally destroys itself on its own heaviness. And everything does. Heart healing is becoming aware of where and how our lives have been disconnected from the heart. Heart healing requires that we let energetic reconnection happen. In Proverbs 17:22, I like this. A happy heart is good medicine. Isn't that good? A happy heart is good medicine, and a joyful mind causes healing, but a broken spirit dries up the bones. I tell you, Proverbs is probably the most wonderful books of the Bible as far as just poetry and saying. There's not anything in it that's that literal, but it is a very well written metaphysical book that we have in there that's important. Today we're going to learn a new technique called freeze frame. Freeze frame. The freeze frame technique allows us to use more of our smart brain and can reduce stress by helping shift our perception. Okay? Now, when it says smart brain, it's talking about the heart, the part of the heart that's in the brain. The brain is not all separate from the heart. The heart, we know, has a brain. Remember that 40,000 neurons that's in the brain that they found in the heart? Tells us that there's a little brain in the heart. And they've also found that which is made of the heart is in the brain. So there is the likeness of each other, and that is called what we call the law of resonance. So when that part of like, what is it? Like begets like. Yeah. And that's the parts we're trying to get together here to make a new coherent heart and brain connection. Based on the Institute of Heart Math, freeze frame is known to, 1, reduce energy drains. Energy drains. Oh man, that's a whole deal that we want to get into. Let me give you an example of an energy drain situation. Late for work makes me, and the feeling I have is anxious. The current solution, the heart tells me to just call the coworker. Don't be anxious. Call. Argument with a spouse. Feelings are angry, feeling helpless. Current solution in the heart says, breathe and wait for it to blow over. Can't get enough sleep. Frustrated and tired. Learn a different routine. So, energy drains are letting things bother us beyond the level that we want to give enough energy to them. Because, I mean, there's some things you don't want to totally get rid of. You know, everybody thinks fear is so bad, but I'm telling you, the higher part of myself could use fear to keep me alive. If I'm walking down the street somewhere and somebody's coming behind me to do me harm and whatever, and I feel a certain uneasiness or fear, and I cross the other side and save myself, I'm glad for that.
Yeah, sure.
So there's some things that can be used from the higher self that's very beneficial that we don't want to totally get rid of. But you don't want the fear of the lower self because that knocks you out consciously.
Right.
Yeah. What I'm talking about leaves you conscious of your surroundings and your situation. Increase ability to quickly develop solutions and problems and solve. Increase clarity, access to intuitive intelligence, improves mental functions, increase access to creativity and out-of-the-box situations. So, let's do a heart lock-in. Let me get to it. The heart lock-in technique is a powerful method for helping you to shift from baseline to create beneficial and sustained changes at the psychological level. Now get this, which is imperative for building a new baseline or resilience, a new normal. Bottom line, because I had to really figure this out, what are you this really saying in a simple way that we can understand it? What it means is to do enough of the focused breathing, coherence that you've learned up to this point, and that the last thing of finding that feeling of gratitude or love or whatever it is, and lock it in enough times until it becomes the new norm of where you go. Because most of us have certain places where we go. Either we're a person who is, the glass is half empty, I can go there. But I'd like to lock in the glass is half full. I'd rather go there. Just as easy as I go to things in my life that's a little more on the negative side, I would like to have a new norm of going more toward the positive side. So when something catches me in my life and I'm knocked out consciously to it and I go, oh my, this is horrible, it's going to be horrible, God knows what's going to happen, to, wait a minute. I teach all things work together for good. I believe there's no accident. That's what I teach. So if I kept locking that in long enough over this, then I shift my perception from, say, fear to love, or from separation to my connection and oneness to all things. Does that make sense to you?
Yes.
Yeah. So you have to keep doing that.
Perhaps you're reviewing, but you're on freeze frame this week, not lock.
Oh. We are?
Your freeze frame is the week 5.
Oh. Well, anyway, I wanted you to get that before we go to this. Yeah, I mean, I think I just kind of got it because I've been kind of contemplating these lessons I'm doing, like, okay, how do we break this down to what does it mean to me? So I think I'm supposed to share that to you. See, all things happen that's supposed to happen. I'm changing, I'm shifting, I'm locking in to that it's supposed to be. Freeze frame is a multi-purpose technique that can be used in the moment for gaining clarity and stopping these energy drains. In other words, staying too long and giving too much energy to something that's going to drain you of energy for the other things that you want to accomplish and you want to experience. Freeze frame helps you to gain a clear and balanced perspective by accessing your intuitive intelligence. So I would say that this is very connected to your third eye, or the eye of enlightenment, which is your brow chakra, right? So let's say, because we teach, for instance, the eye of enlightenment in Soma and other schools of thought, is the ability to be intuitive. The ability to see differently. The eyes sees the external interpretation or perception through the senses. But the eye of enlightenment burns through that limitation and illusion and sees the true essence of something. And it gives you that intuitive feeling that is beyond what we see, let's say. And that's why I love when people say to me, oh, I see what you're saying. I know they're not talking about here. I know they're talking here. And they're saying, I understand it. I got it. I see, I understand what you're saying. So that's two different ways to see. Freeze frame techniques allow you to use more of your smart thinking brain, which can get jammed up and out of sync when you are stressed. It's a helpful technique to use when you make quick decisions or when out-of-the-box situations are needed. Having a genuine desire helps bring a determined, proactive feeling to ignite the right approach and attitude, especially in more challenging situations. And I really still connect that to what I just gave you. I still think that what I just gave you about the, what was it called? The lock-in is freeze frame. What you're locking in is to freeze frame it until it does become the new norm. And when it becomes the new norm, you're going to see things differently. You're going to make decisions differently. You're going to choose differently, right? And that's really the whole definition of this great A Course in Miracles. The fact that this word miracles just comes from this idea of a shift in perception. Okay? So, again, I want to say to you, intellectually, I've learned enough that I know what I should do. My intellect tells me, this is what you teach, this is what you say you believe, but it doesn't always happen. Right? And there's where the drain comes, because my head knows better, but I'm not getting it done because I don't have the connection enough with the heart to get done what I know. And that's the importance in the coherence between the heart and the brain. I need to be more mindful. The heart brings in mindfulness, which means that I'm aware and conscious before I solidify that decision as a reality. Does that make sense to you? In other words, I'm not being reactive, but I'm able to bring it to the altar of my higher heart. See, to the higher heart and say, what do I really feel about this? And the feeling is that, I feel like it's going to be okay. I feel like this is all working for the good of me. I feel like there are no accidents. I feel like, and you get all these feelings of the spiritual things we talk about, and you lock it in. And you don't lock it in for just a little bit, but you keep locking it in until it becomes frozen enough into you that it becomes a norm of where you go quicker and faster. We don't have to keep having everything as a challenge to learn a lesson. When will we learn enough lessons? In school, you learned lessons. And you learned the lessons, and all the lessons showed up as the finals. And if you learned the lessons, think about this. This is a good example. If I learn lessons to just learn it, let's say for that particular next day, so I could pass a test, but then I forgot it. And then I learned this and I forgot it. But if I really learned it and applied it to the point that it became what? These two go together so much that I can't see. Heart lock-in means that I learned it, but I get it. See? I mean, how many people go through the entire school just learning things to get a degree, or learn to get through a test, and they never use it? That's a different educational system that the brain has, the ego has, from the heart has. The heart says we are here to learn to remember what we have forgotten. Not to just store in more knowledge and more data. So, freeze frame quick steps is acknowledge a situation, then do heart-focused breathing, which puts you in your heart. The heart is activated by activating a positive or renewing feeling. At that point, if you need to, you can ask the heart if you need the intelligence of a decision. And then you listen. And listen means differently than listen. There's a difference in listening and hearing. I listened to David today, but I didn't hear a thing he said. And that's the thing. How much do we hear? The last book of the Bible ends with a book that says 17 times, hear what the Spirit says to the church. Hear. Oh, I go every Sunday and listen to the preacher. What did he preach about? I don't know. It was good. That means you listened, but you didn't hear it. It didn't lock in. It didn't lock in for you that you got it. And then you freeze it to the point that you can share it in your life, and it becomes the spoken word made manifest. To me, that's the difference in the lock-in and the freeze frame. Let's take a moment. Nice breaths. Again, I direct you to the teacher within your own heart. The dwelling in the space of Christ consciousness. The place that we call the mind of God. The thoughts of God. The knowing of God. To me, that's the difference. Allow that as you visualize it to feel the whole inner space of your heart. Let's take a moment. Every neuron, every cell, every atom, the spin of electrons, the turn of the cytoplasm, the twining and the unwinding of your DNA, coming into full alignment with all that the heart is and all that the heart has to extend of itself into your world of consciousness. Today I invite you with me to invite a new, stronger and clearer focus upon the intelligence of our heart. As the heart works to bring its feeling into the thought of the brain, until the brain is thinking what the heart is feeling, and they are one. Father, make them one as we are one. This is the way that God, as the divine logos or thought, is through the feeling of the heart. The brain can learn about love, but until the heart can feel that love and give it back to the brain, at that moment, divine thought has become part of human thought. We honor and recognize the teacher, the intelligence that is within us today, and invite it into our life and our world that we live. As our guide, as our teacher, as our comforter, leading us through these days of such breakdown and chaos that is going on around us. Lead us besides the still waters. Lead us to the flow of the river of life as it moves us easily into the next level of what it means to be divine and human. And now I invite you as we close to breathe in one more time a heart-focused breath of 4, 4, and 6. Breathing in, holding it, locking it in, feeling of gratitude for being here today, and exhaling it out and sharing it to those who are ready to receive it and who are a frequency match through the intention of giving. And so it is. And wow, I quit right on the exact dot.
That's a first.
It is a first, I believe. Thank you so much for coming and being here. Sunday's a very special day. Remember, we're having our cookout, 4th of July. It's also the first Sunday. It's birthday Sunday. It's all kinds of things going on here. And also the workshop with Susan on the karma of the US of A, the United Sons of Abraham. Contemplate that. All right, thank you for your support for the class. It's much appreciated. And if anybody's still with us out there online or later, will catch us. We want to thank you for joining us also. And we'll be with you back on the Sunday celebration service at 11:15 on Sunday. And Tim, are we also doing the workshop online? Okay, so if anybody's with us, you can also tune it in for the workshop on Sunday. Okay, it's $20, love offering exchange. And you know, Susan works hard at what she does, and she deserves the research and the study that she's done. So we want to be a blessing. If that's an issue, all you have to do is come and talk to us. We're not going to not let anybody come because they don't have the finance.
Do you make it out to Susan Rice?
Tim, they make it out to HeartLight? HeartLight. Mm-hmm. You can do it anytime. You can do it today, or you can do it Sunday at the workshop or whenever. All right, thank you so much. Have a great day, beautiful day, rest of the week, and see everybody, I hope, on Sunday. Thank you. Welcome.
I had a hard mind experience I wanted to share with you.
Okay.
You're coming for July? Yeah, you want to get your lunch? Yeah. Oh, let's do it. Okay, let's do it.